right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Val-You Based Care. I'm here today with Mike, who is the fearless leader of Haymarket Media Group. And I just recently engaged in this partnership with you, Mike, and was hoping that we could talk about that today.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I wanted to start off with even just how we met. And that was a very serendipitous event because I don't think either of us were really meeting thinking that we were going to even talk about a partnership. It was more just, oh, there's this person, and we're going to just talk about what does oncology mean at ASCO.
Yeah, I remember my colleague said, there's this oncologist who I'm meeting with, would you like to tag along and have a conversation? I'm like, sure, let's have a conversation. And then we got together, and it went to interesting places, which I thought were really meaningful.
Yeah, and I felt like I was in a very comfortable place where I could tell you some of the projects I was doing. Even though I was introduced as a doctor, I thought I could tell you more of my book authorship and my communications interests. And so I really appreciated that time that we had together, and I actually didn't really think we were going to have any more time again in the future. Yeah. So that was a really wonderful gift. It also taught me a lot about keeping an open mind. You never know what kind of amazing things will happen.
Well, you brought up the tactical empathy that you had been engaged with and thinking about, and how you were looking at applying that to patient care and clinical work. And it just sparked in me something about, I just thought right away, this is such a meaningful area that needs to be covered, because patients, and especially those with cancer, they need empathy. But I don't know, just something about combining those two and being purposeful about it, but in an authentic way, really resonated. So when you lit up when you talked about it too. So it's obviously something that you felt passionately about and felt could be really meaningful in terms of, you know, helping patients have better outcomes.
Yeah, and I really was so feeling this really refreshing vulnerability of feeling like this isn't something that gets talked about a lot, but I could talk to you about communication and specifically empathy, and then even go the further layer of tactical empathy, which has that hostage negotiation spin to it.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me that in medicine, that's just so many degrees away from actually what a doctor should be doing. But you were just present and listening, and I could tell you weren't really thinking what's the next thing you're going to say, which is often what we do when we're listening to someone. They're like, what am I going to...
I'll take that in the best way.
What was my rebuttal? But I could tell you were really thinking, and I actually got a little bit like, oh, you know, I need to think about when I'm talking to people that maybe I need to be in those rooms where people are going to look at these ideas and I'm not already preparing for them to get dismissed.
Yeah.
So when we started talking about partnership, I thought, I think this is the tone of what a partner is where we're looking at each other for that brief moment of time, but really long-term we're looking at the same direction of where we want to go. And I was really curious what kind of problem solving you think that we could do together, that you're probably already solving a problem yourself, and then I'm thinking about how I'm going to be tackling the idea of this, like a tactical empathy, masterful communication. How do you think about how you've been thinking that way, and then as we work together, how to think that way?
Well, working in this field for so long, I've seen a lot of evolution over the years in how information is shared and how clinicians are educated. And we're in a time of great transformation right now. It's affecting everybody within the healthcare system. I mean, from the patients initially all the way through to family and caregivers that surround them, and the clinicians and the rest of the care team that supports them. And so for me, we've been thinking about at Haymarket, how are we going to meet the needs of these communities? We've cultivated them over decades. We've built trust with them that we will give them information that's valuable and allows them to be better clinicians and provide better patient care. But AI is transforming all of that. Advances in therapeutics are rapidly changing and accelerating. And then with you put the AI layer on top of that in terms of how you access information and learn about these things and the tools that are changing. There's a lot that's disruptive and may unmoor people from what they're used to and what the prior paradigms were. So for me, I think there's a natural complement here to what you're trying to do and talk about how should we be evolving the way we think about providing care, how we think about communicating with patients, and also not forget it's about communicating with colleagues and friends and all the people around us, right? So that our lives can be better with that stuff. So we're already thinking about this, and then bumping into you and hearing you talk about this kind of unique approach and thought around it was very meaningful. So for Haymarket, we call it the Haymarket Medical Network for a reason. We're trying to find, people with interesting and quality things to say, things that are innovative. It doesn't have to be our voice, but if we can help amplify it and connect to allow it to reach more people, then we're serving a good part of our mission that way. So that's, I think, where my head was when we got together.
Yeah. And I think of Haymarket in terms of how to partner and take what I was already doing. I was thinking so much about diffusing fear, and now I feel like with Haymarket, I've even gone a step further of making it even fun too. And I actually look at this AI and this time of a lot of change as a great opportunity. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy to say, but I look at it as when we were little kids, I think little kids are geniuses, and then we get schooled out of that through feeling like there's shame in making mistakes, or there's societal expectations, and then there's the right and the wrong. And so then even though there's plenty of actual social science data saying how we lose our creative geniuses, and we actually, as children, possessed really a lot of the problem-solving skills that we're ever going to really need. I think of AI as sort of like that reset button where now we all get to be kids again, because this is such a new type of a way of interacting with intellect. And I also thought it was really interesting how it made me think about when we were in school. One of the themes, and I have always tried to understand, is of the shaming of like, I'm too stupid, or I'm not a math person, or I can't do this or that. And I feel like AI has just cleared the field for that. Like, you can't do math, but you go and work with AI, and now you are a math person.
Yeah.
And so I think of going forward, working together, we can help people actually find the fun and reawaken that little 5-year-old creative genius that I think all of us really do have, but we just have to forget some of the societization that's happened. Well,
I think that's right, because it's about curiosity, right? And I think that what AI can do is it can become a great tool for people to explore their curiosity about what's possible. How do you solve problems? How do you create things that work better that way? And to your point, if I'm not good at one thing or another, don't have knowledge in this area or another, I now have a better tool that helps me explore that in a much more natural way. It's not coming up with, do I have to navigate search in the right way? It's natural language engagement, and then it's kind of a dialogue, with these models now that allow you to explore things. But at the end of the day, it's still, people need to be told that their curiosity and their creativity is okay. It's okay to try new things, to question and challenge things. So I'm glad that you feel that, because that's certainly within our thought process, that people will learn better, they'll retain more if they're having an enjoyable experience, rather than a rote type of training or education. If it's more of an enjoyable dialogue and experience, they'll retain stuff, and it will motivate them to do more of that. So I'm glad you see that in Haymarket, that there's some fun in there too.
Yeah, I would love to create content that forces people to have fun. And what I mean by
a little
that,
oxymoron there, but that's okay.
yes, we're going to hold you hostage with fun.
That's right.
but it's kind of like sometimes I think almost of, I'm having visions of Pokemon cards right now, but like how you can learn so many things from games.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could even take something like AI that is so serious, but it really is like a little fun partner is how I look at it.
Yeah.
And so the ability to create content together that could be fun. I know we had an earlier conversation about what if we were talking about an HBO show around medicine.
Yeah.
And that would be so much more, I think, kind of like playing Pokemon cards as opposed to the way that we've been treated in education, which is you have to memorize. If you can't do it, you're not cut out for it.
Yeah.
I think very oppositely. I think of it like we're all, if we're in our de-differentiated creative genius state, we all really could do anything, but it's more, what is it that is actually fun and resonates with that DNA that we were born with? And no one's going to be good at something that they don't really feel like there is fun or passion or calls to them. But to force it and be like, oh, well, if you're a doctor, you have to do it this way. I think being a doctor, there's a lot of ways to be a great doctor.
Yeah.
And so being able to recognize that and this is where empathetic communication comes in, where in any form of being a physician, there's going to be different ways to talk to physicians because they're going to want to be talked to differently, as opposed to all of them, they have to all read the same book and all agree with the AI. Like, I'm actually very curious about people who are very cynical and scared of AI. I really want to know where they're coming from, because I think we're going to learn a lot of deeper, more philosophical lessons by unwinding what is that fear really coming from.
I think that's important too, because I don't think that we can foster adoption and exploration unless we understand why people may be reticent. They might have fears, what they're coming from. And I think anyone who's going through that, if they feel heard and they feel like they're recognized in their humanness, that they are worried about X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be. There's all sorts of reasons why people may have worries about AI. Some of them may be founded in strong facts, some of them may be not. That doesn't mean that the feeling's any less real, and holding them back from exploring what it may be able to do for them, especially in the clinical realm. So having that willingness to understand is, I think, critical. And at Haymarket, we certainly understand too that there's a difference among people and how they want to learn, what they'll gravitate to. Some are going to have a great time listening to a podcast while they're on their bike or in their car. Others are going to want to sit down and read. Some will read digitally. Some want physical hard copy. Some want to be in a room with another person and have a dialogue. So for us, it's about creating multiple experiences that are possible so that all of those different personality types and profiles can have the experience that's most meaningful to them. And hopefully, in whatever that is, it brings them some joy or it brings them some satisfaction, which is where the fun comes in that way. Yeah. But that's what we try to accomplish, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it took me a while to distill all that you've said and realize that Haymarket is a trust broker. Like, you're trying to communicate in all these different ways because you know that trust takes a lot of work and you have to meet people in a way that resonates with them. And being able to do that takes a lot of having to put forth your own generosity, your own trust first, your own leap of faith. And then people are going to be scared, but you want to keep that curiosity of, well, what could we be doing to help you? What can we be understanding? And not to change their mind, but more like when they're afraid, there's this unsaid, there's something they're not trusting, or there's something that happened to them that they don't trust, and now they're looking at the situation like a repetition of whatever had happened before.
Yeah, and fear is not often, it's usually related to misunderstanding.
Right.
But that's not on the individual who's misunderstanding. It's on the other individuals, the society, the situation to create better understanding, right? So because you don't know what you don't know. And if and there's fear because of that, then it's up to us or others to explain, to educate, and allow people to get there on their own time. It's not on them. It's on those that are trying to change paradigms or introduce new ways of working to explain why that is going to be beneficial to that individual. At least that's something I've learned throughout a lot of aspects of my life and career, that those objections, those barriers, the fear that exists beyond that is usually some unanswered question or something that's holding back through misunderstanding. But that's for me or others to lean in and try to articulate better and draw someone to understanding that way. I think that's a better way of doing it. You can't demand it.
Right. And I don't think of it as you're looking at the outcome first. You're more, even if someone said at the end of the day they feel understood, but they still just don't want to adopt the AI.
Yeah.
It's like we still accomplished something there because the trust is formed, because the point wasn't to make them adopt AI.
And it's also about making sure we build those common areas of agreement. And usually that starts with, we all want patients to have better outcomes and have better care. And the outcomes are, along a spectrum, especially in oncology and cancer care. A lot of patients are not going to be cured, but the outcome still can be a lot better than maybe what it is today. And so when you start at a point of common goal, then you're beginning a journey together to get there. And it might take a lot of steps for someone to get all the way to I'm embracing AI and what it can do, or to adapt and change their way of communication to include more empathy into that. But as long as they have that goal in mind, and that's where we're coming from or you're coming from, then there's a common starting place that we can travel that road together.
Right. And that's very much trust brokering is looking for, where is that?
I've never thought of it with that phrase, but it is a good phrase for us. We might have to adopt that.
Yeah. You can say, "Oh, I totally thought of that."
There you go,
Kim.
There you go.
But I really appreciate your time. I wanted to bring it home for our audience by just one more last question.
Sure.
I always like to leave something that's compelling for the future and for young generations.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to go really deep.
All right, let me see where we're going here. I got to get myself ready, girding myself.
You're already like getting all those muscles really tight.
My brain's spinning back here.
Yeah, you're like, oh. And for us doctors, especially those younger ones who are coming out of school, what do you feel like you would really want to be able to help them in terms of keeping that curiosity that you're really wanting to be able to work with?
It's interesting. I brought a couple of things about empathy, and there's an article about empathy in AI, but I'm going to go to something else in terms of evidence-based medicine, which we all hear a lot about. And I read a very provocative piece about that, which was not saying that it's bad and certainly endorsing randomized controlled trials, but it was a good reminder that those are basically the average patient, right? They're the average. And I would just say to all clinicians, especially younger ones, to understand that every patient is an N of one and a unique human being. And while there may be certain lab results and different tests and other things that fall within certain cohorts, they all have different experiences. They all have different family situations. Their lives, their DNA is unique to them too, right? There's aspects of them that are fully and totally theirs. And the meaning of medicine is meeting that individual in that place, right? Not having it be a person who follows a paradigm and you drop them into the guidelines and you say, well, the guidelines say to do this. It's applying the guidelines, but in a way that meets that patient where they are in that way. Because that's going to become the most fulfilling part in my experience. And I'm not a clinician. I just have been around them for 30 years. And that's what I've seen when I think about the people who express the most joy in their lives of treating patients, helping patients. It comes into those connections with them as individuals and helping them navigate their journey with their disease. You know, if it's to cure, great. If it's not, if it's just to thriving with it, that's great. But it's that element of remembering the humanity and that individualness of each patient, I think, is critical. And I do believe that technology, in a weird way, can help us with that. It gives us tools to be able to do that.
Yeah. I think of when us oncologists reference the gold standard clinical trial.
Mm-hmm.
When we say things like that, I think it's more a reflection of a lack of technology, because we're not at a place where we can get to N of 1 yet.
Yeah.
So we just say, well, this is what clinical trials tell us, but in some ways, not in a intentionally mean way, but in some ways it is saying, well, just because the technology is good enough, it is not good enough yet. We're just going to say the average clinical trial is good enough.
Well, that's where I think the switch from, you know, structured information to this to AI that can be, you know, generative and can go down a path of curiosity and help clinicians access all of this rich data that's out there and apply it in a more individualized way. I think that's where the promise is going forward. And I hope that, you know, everybody looks at it as a fun experience to play with these toys in a way that's going to be ultimately meaningful, because they're not toys when you're talking about providing great care. Mm-hmm. But if we look at them that way and say it's not, don't be afraid of them, to your point, and embrace them and try, I think we'll be pleasantly surprised by what we find is possible.
Yeah, it's like the Picasso quote with every child is born an artist, but the challenge is growing up and staying the artist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to remind myself, we were talking earlier about the think again and opening up your mind to creativity and curiosity. I think it's when we grow up and we're adults, we have to be more purposeful in it, because it's so easy to be stuck in our patterns that have been drilled into us over years and decades. So, but I'm excited because we get to walk some of this journey with you. I'm really excited about our partnership and how we can help, you know, bring some of this knowledge and communicate this to other clinicians out there. So it's great, and appreciate you having that trust in us.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much, Mike. And I'm going to thank the audience for another wonderful experience.
It's my first podcast experience, so it's been good so far. So thank you for being a kind host.
Oh, no, thank you so much.